Hey everybody, welcome to Nick's Mic. Nick's Mic is a podcast where we talk about life hacks to yield success. This podcast is a platform where we host goal achievers, extract their immense knowledge and learn how they became heroes in their own profession. Today with me is Mr. Aakash Borse, director at Faber Infinite Consulting and also a very well known for his entrepreneurship abilities, writing books and having a massive fan following. Welcome Aakash to Nick's Mic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here today.
You're always welcome, my friend. Why don't you introduce yourself and your company for the benefit of our listeners?
Sure, definitely I'll do that. Before I do that, let me tell you I'm not a hero. I'm still a learner. My name is Aakash Borse. I represent this organization called as Faber Infinite.
Right.
So I'm one of the founding members and directors. And when it comes to Faber Infinite, we are primarily into management consulting.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, of course, management consulting is a too vast a subject. In a nutshell, if I were to say, we typically help organizations to improve their profitability. So that's what we have been doing across 10 different countries, more than 300 companies that we have been working with.
That's amazing. Aakash, I read that you are 3 partners.
Right.
Can you tell something about your company and your partners?
Definitely. So it's a story. It all started in Africa. So I've mentioned this to multiple people multiple times. So when we were working in Africa, that's when all 3 of us we got together.
Wonderful.
We were working on projects for United Nations and other African organizations in Africa.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So what happens is like one of my partner who's currently based out of Ahmedabad. He was in Africa. He was with United Nations then.
Okay.
And the other 2, that is including me and my other partner who's based out of Pune, Vishal, we were working on several consulting projects.
Okay.
And that's when we realized that there is immense that we can offer. Why only limited to Africa? Let's look across the world. And that's how it started.
And you guys are looking not across the world, I think the whole of the universe, the way you guys are growing. I am aware of that.
Thank you so much.
So what does Faber Infinite exactly do?
Right, okay. So when it comes to Faber Infinite, I would rather take one step on the side and talk about how this story of Faber Infinite started.
Please.
Right, and typically when we were working on different projects, that's when we realized that typically we are craftsmen.
Okay.
And that's how we picked up Faber, which is a Latin word which means craftsman.
Ironsmith or something.
Yeah. So craftsman and artist. So that's why you have Faber Castle.
Right.
And we were talking about infinite growth opportunities which are there for our client organization. So that's how Faber Infinite came together.
Okay.
And coming back to Faber Infinite and what we do, so as I said, we work with organizations to improve profit.
Okay.
Now there are only 2 ways to improve profits. Either you increase the top line, which is the sales, or you cut down the cost, which is the more about the operation side.
True.
So now what we do is we work with clients on both these fronts.
Right.
So there have been cases where we work with clients where the capacity is there and they are unable to scale it up and sell. So we help them not only in strategizing, but also in terms of rolling out that strategy, working with the sales team on the ground. So that's for the sales side.
Okay.
Coming to the operations or the execution side, I would say we work across 40 different sectors. So that includes engineering, textile, plastic, chemical, and where we work on how do you reduce the overall cost. And when it comes to cost, there are several levers. So whether you call it quality, cost, delivery, manpower, productivity, energy, yield. So there are more than 20 such parameters.
Right.
And I understand if I were to, and it's like all industry neutral. So there would be clients which are into manufacturing. There would be clients which would be into service industry.
True.
I would say even in hospitals, it is equally applicable.
Yeah, absolutely. Wherever there are people, they need to grow and redefine themselves.
Right.
Amazing. That's really amazing what you guys do. So how is your approach different and how is it so effective each and every time? I've heard so much about you guys.
Right. No, definitely. Thank you so much for that. So it's like when it comes to typical first question or apprehension which comes up, how do you work? As in, how would you know my industry? I am the master of my industry, whether it is, let's say, manufacturing of this plastic bottle or maybe the mic that you have in front of you.
Correct.
Now, typically, of course, any client, they are masters of their domain. The technology or the technical expertise is theirs. But what we bring on the table is that how do you improve the process? So we bring in that particular expertise of different scientific tools specifically focused on process improvement.
Okay.
So there are those tools and methods available. That is what we bring on the table. So now when I'm talking about how we approach a particular situation, so it's like input, process and output. So for me, whether it is a manufacturing of a paper pin or a plane, it doesn't matter. We are talking about following certain set of activities and working on those improvement levers.
True.
So it could be like, for example, where we work for one of our clients to improve the production with the same set of resources. So typically if I were to go fundamentally talk about what makes us different, is we are talking about improvement through zero capex investment in the first phase.
That's awesome.
So typically there was one of our clients which is into industrial compressor manufacturing, and they are like a global European organization based out of India. We help them improve their production by 33% with the same set of resources, working with the union on the ground. Something similar with an organization here in Baroda as well. So I would say if they were manufacturing say 25 units a month, they started doing 35 with the same set of people, same resources. So that is something what we bring on the table, which is very, very unique and different. At the same time, if I were to talk about other key differentiating factors, would be it's like when we talk about the return on the consulting investment.
Right.
So we have been promising and delivering 5 to 10 times return on the consulting investment. So it's like for every $1 invested in the consulting, I'm talking about $10 of benefit in the first year. So you can imagine this.
That's amazing. So Aakash, I already heard of ROI, return on investment. This is the first time I'm hearing ROCI, that's return on consulting investment.
I'm glad you picked it up.
So what exactly you guys are doing is you're making a change.
Right.
But is this change sustainable?
That's a very beautiful question, and it's a subject which is very close to my heart because that's what our bread and butter is.
Right.
So as in, I typically mention it to several of my clients and prospects as well. So it's like when I'm talking about what we do as a bread and butter, change management is what we bring on the table.
Okay.
Because all these tools are freely available. You Google it and you'll get 10,000 pages
Absolutely.
on how to implement Kaizen, how to implement continual improvement, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to sustainable change, that is something which is very, very inherent to any project that we take up. So there are different change management frameworks what our consulting team brings on the table.
True.
So when I am talking about identifying those nuances, it could be as fundamental as identifying what are those key drivers, what is going to motivate you to pick up that particular change. Now at different stages of the journey, you will have different kind of challenges, and to address each of the challenge, you'll need a different frame of mind, different
Very
approach.
true. You're completely correct.
Right? So it could be as fundamental as, let's say if I am talking about improving the quality of say manufacturing of this plastic bottle, but for us to do that, it starts with as fundamental as improving the physical workplace. So that brings in that change in the mindset when it comes to improving the physical workplace, and that's why you have all these initiatives like whether you call it as Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or whether that is Make in India kind of concepts.
Absolutely, and there's so many success stories. So can you share one of your most gratifying one?
Okay, so now it's a very question which I would say difficult to answer because it's like asking a mother which is your favorite child.
Just give it a shot.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to the projects that we have taken up, I would say again going back to the case that I was referring about the compressor manufacturing organization, why it is very unique and dear to our heart is because we work with the union there. So where our role was to be a fair party to execute that particular change, not only for the management but for the union as well. So people on the ground. So when I'm talking about what brings, as in that fun and in terms of what excites us is what value addition that we are bringing on the table and improving the quality of life for all the stakeholders, not only the client management team, because of course finally they are going to make money out of it and which is going to pay us. Absolutely. But at the same time it should improve the performance and the productivity of the people on the ground. So for example, there is another client of ours which is of course in India. So it's in a small town in India which manufactures textile machines.
Okay.
Now it is very interesting to note from a small town in India and producing top-class, high-class textile machines and exporting it outside the country, and contributing to the overall GDP of the country. And that's where when our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister is talking about such initiatives of Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat, it's building towards that competitiveness, and that brings a lot of sense of pride and happiness, if I were to say.
Makes sense. So every corporation or every company has its own values.
Right.
So what are your Faber values?
Okay, so it seems you have done a good amount of homework and research when it comes to what we do. So of course, any organization, as you pointed out, has certain values, and there are some values which Faber Infinite has also listed out and which are very, very close to our heart. And it's like not only on the paper or on the wall, but then we actually live those values.
Right.
So I'll just talk about a couple of them. Of course, there are 7 that we have listed out, but 2 of them that I want to highlight is one, when we work with sectors or client organizations. When we started, we thought of coming up with working with sectors touching humanity.
Okay.
And that's why crudely as well, if I were to put it, they say roti kapda makan. So it starts with food, shelter, and then your clothes, textile, pharma. So that's where we have been working with all such sectors. So now that we are out of Corona COVID wave, let me tell you. So when it comes to when COVID started, so it's like the first thing that was required was HCQ. One of our clients is manufacturing HCQ.
Absolutely.
The other thing that came up was required was oxygen. One of our clients is into oxygen transportation and cryogenic tanks. Similarly, there are so many such beautiful sectors, which are like touching humanity is what we are working with. So it's like the moment you start your day till the time you end your day, there are so many such facets that the mankind requires. We work for all of them. And second value which is very close, and I think I should bring it up, is where we are talking about return on the consulting investment, which I already mentioned to you, but on a sustainable basis. So for our clients, it stays with them phase after phase, year after year. And whenever we are working with clients for life. So there would be clients that we have been working with them for 7 years, 10 years, multiple of them. Yeah. So I think these two are very...
So that's working on the improving of their professional life and creating an excellence.
Yeah.
But anything from the personal angle?
Sure. So it's like, again, going back to the point that I was talking about, improving the quality of life.
Right.
So that's again one of our values as well. So quality of life for all our stakeholders, including our team members as well as client team members.
Right.
So it's like whenever we are taking up all such projects, how is it going to impact their lives is what we consider.
True.
So I'll tell you, even now, there are clients where if I walk on the shop floor 10 years later, as in completion of the project, the operator on the ground still remembers and cherishes, humne ye kiya tha, which is helping me now. And this has improved my overall personal family life.
Simply amazing.
Similarly, when we work in Africa, so we work across 10 countries, and a lot of work that we do is in Africa as well.
Right.
So there are client teams where they get rewarded because of the success of the project, and they get to fly all across the world along with families, and they cherish and improve their quality of life as well. So there are so many such examples which I can keep quoting.
I know, and you got offices in India. You got a couple of offices in a couple of cities in India. You got it in Nairobi. You got it in Dubai.
Yeah.
So you are internationally placed.
Yes, of course.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we have 3 offices here in the country: Ahmedabad, Baroda, and Pune. We have 3 representative offices. That's Nairobi, Dubai, and Lusaka.
Right.
And if I were to talk about the operations, currently we have been operating in 10 different countries. So that includes, of course, India, Nepal, Middle East. Then in Africa, we work right from Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Uganda, Malawi. The entire belt is where we are working.
Cool, amazing. So what's your vision of the future?
Okay, so
it's tough, but I'm sure you must be thinking of something.
Right. So I'll tell you, pre-corona, we were focusing on scaling up and touching all different geographies as well. So like we had a internal mandate that we would be adding up 2 new regions every year.
True.
Which we were doing very successfully pre-COVID. COVID changed a lot of dynamics. So rather than looking at only at geography, what we are also looking at is how much value we are creating overall in the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
So that's where we are working on several projects which could be like circular economy, or we are working with clients in terms of these days a lot of organizations are talking about integrating technology. So we are working on several projects which is setting the foundation for industrial IoT. So IIoT as they call it, or Industry 4.0.
Right.
So IoT is a subject which is like everybody is touching different part of the elephant and calling it an elephant.
Internet of Things kind of a thing.
Yes. So that is an area that we are currently aggressively working on. So as a part of our consulting solution, you asked me that in terms of how are we sustaining it.
Right.
So there are different sustenance frameworks, methodologies, but along with that, it is also coupled with technology. So we have technology-based solutions which is going to support the project that have been concluded by the consulting team. So it's kind of a build, operate and transfer mechanism. So when it is transferred to the client team, we also embed technology, cloud-based software platforms which can help them sustain. So that's like, I would say those 2-3 areas. So one, I spoke about circular economy,
right,
which is kind of paving the way for, as they call it, ESG. So working towards sustainable environment.
Right.
And the second one is in terms of industrial IoT.
It's amazing. So, when you guys are doing such amazing good work, why don't you share with our listeners where do you guys work from, something about your company, and if they want to contact you, how should they do that?
Sure. So the easiest way is to reach out to us is on our website. So it is www.faberinfinite.com. So it is FABERINFINITE.com. So it has all the details, and I would say any organization which is looking for improvement, sustainable improvement without any capex, and which is looking to make money and make impact to the entire ecosystem, we would be very happy to join hands and take this further.
Absolutely. Aakash, thank you so much for all the information which you shared. If I would try to understand this, it would have taken me probably more than a week. And I just got it in such a short period of time. It's all thanks to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And anything else you would like to tell to our listeners? Any last words?
No, first of all, thank you so much for having me here.
Always welcome.
And when it comes to specifically that I would want to talk to people when it comes to change. So change is, of course, which is one of the subject which is very, very talked about.
Absolutely.
Every organization is talking about bringing in change. So whether it is rolling out new iPhone into the market, or whether that's, say, rolling out ERP within an organization, it's finally change.
Absolutely.
And when we are talking about change, there are different nuances that one needs to take care of. So what I would suggest is, when it comes to coming up with any new thought process, of course it should be implemented, of course, if it is going to add value.
Sure.
But before implementing, we need to do a solid groundwork which sets the tone for bringing in that change.
Absolutely.
So let's keep that in mind, and I'm very, very confident that we would be working towards 5 trillion economy. We are already working towards that.
I'm equally confident. Trust me on that. And my dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to us. Do follow me, share, subscribe and like. And if you like this, make it a point to stay tuned for the next episode, which is going to come very, very soon. Thanks once again.